Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and today we're going to take a look at our Vermibag Max. Now, the last 2 days I've updated you on the trash can system that I have and the urban worm bag, and we did harvest on both those systems, and we're going to do the same today with our Vermibag Max. And that way you can see how the different materials look between the systems and how easy they are to harvest for these bag systems. Now with that, we added, I think, 6.9 pounds of food last time into the Vermibag Max. I bet most of it is gone, and we're going to be adding around 6.4 pounds today. So it's going to be a big feeding again, and we also are probably going to add in, if I remember, some corn husks to the system as well, just because I've got them in the basement, and I'm trying to get rid of them before they sit here too long. So with that, we're going to start with a harvest, and then we're going to go ahead and move to the food. Now, I have been showing, and I'll show it over this, but the feeding that we did last time, as I said, was a large feeding, and it spread across the entire system. So also, hopefully, we'll try to prevent that from falling down into the center during this harvest. So with that, let me get the lights set up, and let's get down underneath the system and start doing our harvest. All right, here we are under my Vermibag here. As you can see, this is the top or the bottom section right here. Here's our zipper. I'm going to go ahead and unzip this. By the way, before I do these, I always vacuum up all the cobwebs that form around this thing, because I always find that there's cobwebs that form around this. Now, unfortunately, this is going to kind of come down towards you and block a little bit of your view. But that's the first part. Let me just grab my glove here before I start reaching in here. And there's this little flap here. And again, this stuff feels a little bit wet, but it looks a little bit better than the stuff coming out of the urban worm bag. But it's very compact down here. I should be harvesting this more frequently. And I'm going to be honest with you, I probably would if I wasn't recording. I'm just going to rotate this bin this way. That way I can kind of move that lid out of the way, or the bottom section here. But as you can see here, this material does look pretty good. I know this is hard for me to record here and get all of it in focus and in the proper light, but I feel some food coming down right now. I just saw, there you go, piece of an avocado. So some of the food in here that's not digested. I also see some plastic already. I still don't know what I put in here that was plastic, but I'm just kind of smoothing out these sides here on the inside, or trying to reach in and get this first section off here out of the bag. I'm just trying to loosen up everything that's around this flap. This little flap that's right here. I'm just trying to loosen everything that's up inside there. I'm trying also not to block your view, which is really hard to do, so I'm doing this sort of backwards. Normally I'd move my way around the bag. Overall, this material looks pretty good. It's a little bit moist, but not as moist, I think, as the urban worm bag, which had like liquid coming out. I think this one gives off a little bit more. All right, so now what I'm going to do, now that I've got some of this kind of loose, I'm going to start hitting the sides of the bag here on the bottom. As you can see, a lot of it's just sort of coming in. Take out my aggression on it. And as you can see, actually, there's a big chunk that came out right here. And it just flakes apart, really. I mean, this actually looks like great material. But I've let this build up a little bit too much. It's very compact in here, which is one of the problems with these systems if you don't harvest them enough. And maybe I should try to get into a better habit of harvesting more frequently before it gets this compacted. All right, I'm just digging upward inside the system with my fingers. There we go. I can get more out of this though. All right, so this side is hollowed out now. There we go, we're getting more out of there. And again, this material just looks really, really nice. I know it's hard to tell, I think, on the camera. It's really hard for me to tell how this is coming out. This is the side I really need to get to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my shoulder into it, just kind of press in. Try to get this material to move. There we go, we got some more coming down. I'm just trying to move this around so that way there's room for it to fall. Getting a lot of material out here. Oh, I think I saw my first worm come out with it. Still, the material looks pretty good. It's still very crumbly. There's not really a lot of, not feeling any chunks. Or maybe this, okay, there's a pumpkin stem right here. If you can see that, that's a pumpkin stem. That's not surprising that that came through the bottom. And a mango seed. So those do take a while to break down. All right, I'm just hollowing out this side right here. I really need to get to the other side though, where the camera is. And still getting a good amount of material out. Here's a piece of, I don't know, that looks like a, this piece right here looks like a coffee filter, but it looks like it's mostly gone. Just a little bit of it left. Piece of string on my gloves. It's hard for me to hit this right now at this angle because I've got a pole right here behind me. There we go. Got out some more. Got out a nice big chunk right here. And look at that. It just flakes right apart while I'm working on it. So this looks really good. We're getting a good amount of material. We've got some bones in here that I put in here a while ago. These are never going to break down, I figured. But I thought I would try it. Shows how long this system's been going, though, for. I think that was, well, a couple years ago that I think I threw bones in here. Let's just see here what else I can get. All right, I think that might be good for now. And we'll just try to harvest a little bit more frequently. We probably got about maybe the same amount of material as we got out of the urban worm bag, maybe a little bit less. Let me just scrape a little bit more out of here because of that. Now what you have to worry about with these systems though is you don't want to dig straight up. You got to make sure you kind of scrape off the sides, because what will happen is if you could just go straight up, you'll eventually pull down the entire center section of your bin. I'm just trying to, there we go. I think that's good. I mean, there's still not a lot of uncomposted material in here, but this looks really, really good. And now what we can do is we can zip this back up, close it up. Let me just move this over to the side so I can get to my thing right here. I really like this design on here where there's no pull string or anything, but it works really well. This little flap that they have underneath the zipper just kind of folds up underneath here, holds everything together, does a good job. And actually with it being the way it is, I can just push it up and in right now. Just move all this stuff out of the way. And then we can go ahead and pull this back around and zip it up. And that's our harvest on the urban worm bag. I'm sorry, the Vermibag. Jeez, we just did the urban worm bag yesterday. There we go. And by the way, this also, I'm going to come around this side and block the camera for just a second here. This also has a nice hardy zipper on it. There we go. Nice hardy zipper. It doesn't get stuck or anything like that. And now let's go up top and take a look at these castings, and then we'll go ahead and do our update on the system. Alright, so here's our castings that we brought up from down below. And I think these look a little bit better than the Urban Worm Bag's castings, but I will not judge castings between these two systems because I'm not feeding them the same thing. And they've been treated differently, and this has been in here a different time to time. Oh, I'm still getting plastic out of it. Jeez. Let me just put that over here. But I do feel that this is a little bit more composted and a little bit better looking as far as the texture and everything compared to what we got out of the other system. But as I said, I can't really judge and say, oh, this is a better system because of that. One of the things I was hoping is that for anybody that's looking to purchase one of these, you can see how the different harvesting mechanisms are on these bag systems, and between that and my trash can system, these are much easier. Also have these bones in here, which are never going to break down, as I said. Another piece of plastic over here. Jeez. The bones I don't mind. They can go into my yard, and if they get ground up or an animal finds them, I don't really care. But plastic, I don't really want in my yard if possible. Geez, more plastic. I don't know where this plastic came from, but it's really annoying to find it in your bin when you've been so careful about not putting plastic in there. In fact, it's to the point now where I only really put in cardboard. And I'm very careful about what cardboard I put in. It's usually very clean. There's no labels on it or anything. We do have this this little bit right here. It looks like this is part of maybe a coffee filter, or maybe, I don't know. Looks a little bit more, I don't know. It looks like it might be maybe a coating on something too. That was a fiber coating that's just taking longer to break down. Of course, I'm still getting pumpkin seeds out of here. Those things just seem to be able to flow through a system. We've got our avocado seed that I'll probably have to throw back through the system. Another piece of plastic over here. And hold on a second, let me get this one out of here. Stuff is still a little bit more sticky than I would like. I would like it to see a little bit more granular than this, where it just sort of rolls off my gloves. Instead, it's really sticking to them. You know, but it's still really good castings. I mean, I can also kind of mix these up a little bit, let them dry out a little bit, and they'll be probably perfect to go in the garden and easier to work with. I still don't know where this plastic is coming from. I'm hoping that future harvests don't still have plastic in it. As I said, I'm very careful with my paper now. I don't put in any junk mail or anything like that. That all goes now to the recycling center, because I think some of that had these little shreds of plastic in it, or plastic in it that went through the shredder. But anyhow, castings look great. Easily go in my yard, in my garden, or if you have one of these systems, in your garden. So, geez, more plastic. All right, I'm not going to sit here and pick through this entire thing. Whatever's in here is in here, except for this mango seed. I will keep that out. And we'll put this back in to go through the system again, and hopefully get broken down a little bit more. So as you can see, it's still, oops, hardly was worked through at all. I mean, really, it looks like this just kind of sat in there and then made it out the bottom. So I'll put that off to the side, and we'll throw that back in the system when we throw the food back in. And did I see another piece of plastic? Yes, I did, right over here. Another piece of plastic. That'll go in the trash. And that's it. That's what this looks like. Let's go to our Vermibag Max and take a look at the system itself and see how it's doing. All right, now here is the top of our system. I'd already opened this up and taken out the fruit fly trap I had in there, and I also refreshed it. It's now filled. When I opened it up, I found I vacuumed up a few fruit flies, but not really that many. So it looks like this is getting better. But a few more coming out right now as far as I can tell. I like climbing up the sides and the lid in this, and actually there's a few more. It's all right. All right, let's take this top section off. And as you can see there's not much on the top, but there is some moisture. I'm going to throw this off to the side. And let's start digging into our system here. So, other than the fruit flies that are coming out, which, as I said, isn't too many, let's just take a look in here and see how things are doing. So we're going to go ahead and dig up from this side right here. And look at this. We really are just down to bare paper on here. Let's just see. Are you zoomed in all the way? Let's just zoom in a little bit more. There we go. Right like that. And look at this. You can see that most of this is really gone. It's just paper that we're seeing now. That's on top. Now let's just kind of dig down in here and just take a look. We still have our pine shavings in here too. Those are going to take a while to break down. But I'm not seeing food. And actually I'm seeing a lot of worms in these pine shavings, which is a great sign. By the way, that creaking is just the frame going around it, this wooden frame that's on the side here that you can see. That's what you hear creaking. I'm leaning on it as I lean over into the system. And this will probably fall down into the center probably as we're doing this maybe. But I'm seeing a lot of the worms right now in these shavings as they are probably starting to break down. You know, from having the food on there. And they're probably a good source of food. And it's very airy. I mean, look at that. It just flakes away. I mean, it looks fantastic because of that. I really do like the shavings of what they can produce. Oh, here's an avocado peel. These things do take a long time to break down. It looks like it's kind of empty, but let's kind of smash it up and leave it in there. And here is an avocado pit. Let's just see if I can break that open. It feels like I can, and I can. There we go. That's open now, so the worms can get into it. It's in two halves. I mean, I think when they're closed like that, I think the worms really can't get in there and work on it. So there we go. Now it's ripped in half. Hopefully they can go to work on that. Now we're going to push this over to the other side. By the way, here's one of these straws. We'll see if these will disappear or if they'll just come out in pieces. I don't know. It is ripping apart now. but it is paper, so it might take a little bit longer. These worms are not paper fanatics, sort of like some of the other worms that I have are, like the African night crawlers. And I do feel the European night crawlers go through a decent amount of paper. But these worms they're very slow with it. Another avocado pit. Feels kind of soft. Let's see if I can jam my finger in there again to open it up for them. There's a couple worms actually on the top there working on it. And then over here, actually right here, we've got a big pile of worms right here in these coffee grounds. Oops, even more. Look at that. There's a whole bunch of them working on these coffee grounds that are over here. Let's just dig down in here too. Again, I'm not seeing really, we've had some of those coffee grounds left over and a couple avocado peels and a couple avocado seeds and one peel. But other than that, it looks like they've worked through the majority of this material. Oh, here's another shell right there with a little bit of avocado left in it. That I'm surprised is there. And actually, I see what appears to be, I don't know if you can see that or not, but I bet that's some sort of fruit fly larva that's on there. I bet that's where they were laying their stuff. We'll just squish that here as you hear my bug zapper go off, trying to kill all those fruit flies that are in the air. So apparently they like that avocado pit or flesh in there. Let's just dig over here a little bit. Again, more, really nothing going on over here as well. Looks like a great shaving mess in there, mixed in with the castings. And they'll hopefully work through that. If not, it comes out on the other side. That's perfectly fine to have wood shavings like that in my compost, especially if it makes the material nice and light and airy. Look at that. It looks like they did a pretty good job in here. It looks like there's nothing left of, I think we said 7 pounds we added last time. So they're going through that material pretty quick. And what we're going to do is we're going to smooth this back out now. And we are going to throw in, as I mentioned before, the corn husks. We're going to throw those on the bottom here. So I've got a couple bags of these. Just make sure these are really dried out. They've been sitting down here for a while. So you can see they're really, really dry. But I've been meaning to get rid of these. I don't know if there's any. Looks like there's a piece of corn left in here. I didn't even know that was there. So there we go. We got 2 bags of this stuff. I think that there's been some critters, some of my critters, such as the fruit flies. I don't know if they've been going in here, and the fungus gnats and stuff like that. So I'm going to put that all in here. We're just going to go ahead and eliminate all of this now. And now we're going to go ahead and put our food on. This really isn't a whole lot of material. It'll take a while to break down since it's fibrous, but it's really not a whole lot of material. And we'll just let the worms work through that along with our food that we're going to put in here. So here's our first container. This one is pretty full. All right, hold on, let me just shake some of this water off of here. A lot of water in the lid. And this one is packed solid. I'll just scrape out these tea leaves that are in here. As I said, I've been going through a lot more tea. And for those curious, it's I think my favorite flavor is this gunpowder tea, Chinese gunpowder. It's kind of like a smoky tea. So, got some lettuce. We've got pepper with pepper seeds, so we might get some pepper plants growing in here. We've got, oh man, this is a really solid block. I didn't realize how solid this thing was. This one's a little bit fresher as far as on the scale of when I put it in there. So, banana peels, coffee grounds, asparagus stems in here. Nice big thick asparagus stems. Look at that. This is the ends of them that were too hard to eat. Wow, this one's really stuck together really well. Banana, some orange. There we go. I'll just break it apart a little bit more here. Got some coffee grounds. As always, daily ritual of coffee and tea. Coffee for my wife, sometimes coffee for me as well. Sometimes I switch up, but usually for me it's the tea. And then sometimes tea at night. These are, this right here is an herbal tea, I'm pretty sure. So, chamomile, that's what it is. Chamomile, I think, and orange. So, got some more coffee grounds right here. I'm sorry, this is a tea bag right here that again has more chamomile in it. So you get to see all the stuff that I eat and drink. So more tea. And we got some orange and some banana. We'll throw that in the corner over here. Now, let's grab the next container. This one I think is a little bit smaller, but we're going to be adding something that is a little bit harder for the worms to go through, and that is corn cobs. So, there we go. This one broke apart a little bit more easily, but we've got some corn cobs in here. Let's just see, I did this in the urban worm bag. Let's try and break these apart, break them all in half. We throw them in here. Got an apple, more corn cobs. This was primarily corn cobs, it looks like. And again, we're going to just break all these in half, throw them in different sections of the bin. Now I am reinforcing this with my hand, I think you can see, but I am just trying to not get this all over me. Okay, more bananas, and then we've got some more of our, I think it's chamomile tea, I'm pretty sure. All right, I have a tea bag right here. And this is a lot of corn in here. I didn't realize how much corn we had in that container, but that's our feeding. So this is going to be a very hard feeding for them to go through quickly, but we're still going to add it in there. And now, let me go ahead and put my mask on, and we got to do our crushed crab and eggshell. Oh, wait, hold on. One more thing to go in there. I almost forgot to throw in our mango seed that was left over. You probably can't even see it now because of the material that's behind it, but we'll throw that in the top there. This will fall down on its own. I don't need to press it down. It hasn't quite fallen down yet into that void that's there, but it will. I'm going to sprinkle this pretty generously, just as we always do. Make sure there's plenty of grit for the worms. And now we've got to put on, what's our last part here? We've got to put on our bedding material. So I've got my bedding right here in this big container that's pre-soaked in my BTI mixed with water. Go ahead and get all this out. There we go. Now you might be asking why I put the husk on the bottom, and that's because I didn't want it on top in case there's stuff that's growing in there, like anything that's maybe, you know, like any fungus gnats or anything like that. I'd rather they have to work their way up rather than be able to find it right on top. A little light on paper this time. We're also a little bit high up. Let me just push this down just a little bit. We got a little bit more paper in here. All right, scraping this out. Got to make sure we get everything out of here. There we go. I think we need a little bit more paper in here. Give me just a second here. This is going to be dry, but I'm going to throw just a little bit more paper in here. Directly from the shredder. I always keep a little bit of paper in there. And that's okay that it's dry. There's plenty of moisture in here, as we saw on the lid. It was a little bit wet, but not too wet. And that should be good to go. Now, last part of this, we've got to put our plastic coating on top here, and this is going to hold in that moisture right along the surface area, but there's still gaps on the side. Now, there is one problem with this. It's very full right now, and I'm hoping it'll fall down, but I really don't have room for this. I guess I could kind of push it in on this side a little bit. There we go. Oh, actually, you guys can't see that, but I'll do it over here in this corner. This is the normal corner I do it in. I'm going to push that corner down, just like that, and that way it's sort of leaning that way against the wall over there of the bag, and hopefully that way anything that gets up here, they're going to go make their way over here, go in there and die. And as I said, I did just refresh that with my apple cider vinegar, a little bit of water, and a drop of Dawn dish soap. So with that, that's our roundup for this system. I hope you enjoyed our harvest here. This harvest I think was a little bit easier than last time as well, which had a little bit too much moisture. And we'll try to harvest this more frequently. I'll mark down that we've harvested on my spreadsheet so we know how far it is between harvests. So with that, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know.